Welcome to Sacred Caregiving. My name is Barbara, and in this episode, we wrap up our September theme of turning everyday tasks into sacred acts. This week, we're going to be talking a little bit about mealtime. In the United States, the holidays are about a month away. And I apologize in advance if you're highly susceptible to suggestion and this post makes you hungry. Food is one of the most consistent caregiving tasks. Whether you're making a meal from scratch, or reheating leftovers, or navigating a menu from a restaurant. It's also one of the most emotionally loaded tasks. If you have ever watched any cooking shows, a lot of the chefs on these cooking shows talk about food as a sense memory. So, with that being said, let's jump right in. First, let's talk about meal preparation at the house. Sometimes preparing meals yourself is the better option, especially if the person has specific dietary needs related to a disease. Caregivers can control the ingredients. They know exactly what's going into their food. You know that you're not going to cause an allergic reaction because of the ingredients in the food. That is not to say, however, that a home-cooked meal has to be entirely from scratch. You can use staples like rotisserie chickens and cut them up and pair them with simple sides like potatoes or a vegetable or even a salad. And then the leftover chicken can be repurposed into casseroles or soups or sandwiches. Or a lot of times with my aunt, she repurposes them into enchiladas. Slow cooker meals can also stretch across multiple days. It does require some pre-planning of prepping the vegetables and the meat ahead of time so that you can actually put it into the slow cooker with your liquid of choice and then turn it on for whatever the recommended time and heat is for that slow cooker. But the good news is throw everything in the pot and then turn it on and leave it for several hours. And you can just leave it plugged in, go about your day, come home, food's ready. So we know as caregivers that it's rarely as simple as preparing the meal, serving the meal, and eating the meal, and then cleaning up. Especially if you are caring for someone with cognitive impairments. And by that I mean somebody with dementia, somebody who has mental health issues, anyone who's, has a disease that affects their brain. Suddenly, you can meet with a lot of resistance at mealtimes. Their favorite food is no longer their favorite food. In fact, they now hate that food. Sometimes that displeasure is indicated by the plate of food suddenly becoming a UFO flying across the eating space and hitting a wall, the floor, or possibly even the caregiver. So, here are some adaptations to try. take the food back into the kitchen and make a slight variation on the food. Like change it to finger foods or smaller portions, or trying a different plate, like a different color or pattern, even if it's just symbolic. You can try offering a different food. Like sometimes when grandma was like not interested in whatever it was that one of us cooked or reheated that day, she absolutely didn't want it. We had microwavable macaroni and cheese. We'd pivot, throw it in the microwave, give her macaroni and cheese. You can also try using memory bridges, like saying to them, I remember when you used to make this for me. Or approaching it as something new, like, I made this recipe, tell me what you think. Slow down. Let the sights and smells of the food do the work. And if they're going to play with their food like they did when they were younger, as long as the food is not going to burn them and it gets into the mouth, who cares about the method? You can always wipe them down later. Finally, let go when needed. It's not a failure, it's a pivot. You know, when we gave grandma macaroni and cheese because she didn't like whatever was being prepared, you know, it wasn't a failure, it was just a pivot. Sometimes, especially when dealing with someone with cognitive diseases, they will tell you when you're hungry, but then by the time you've prepared the meal and put it in front of them, they no longer want it. Part of that is with whatever goes on in their brain, they forget when they've ate last. So their brain might be telling them, oh, you're not hungry, you just ate, even though it's been like 5 hours since they ate. So if they've previously refused the food and now all of a sudden they're hungry again, like, offer them the food as though it's the first time. Don't remind them that they refused it 5 minutes ago or 5 seconds ago. Simply present the food as though you're presenting it for the first time. Now, dining out can also be a helpful strategy. It saves time and energy and provides a change of scenery and can offer social engagement, even if the interaction is just with the servers. And it gives you both a break from the routine, which is sometimes necessary, just to take a break from the routine, do a little bit of a reset. Doesn't have to be an expensive restaurant. You don't have to go to the 5-star Michelin restaurant with the fancy celebrity chefs. Many caregivers and care receivers find comfort in just going to their local burger joints or taco stands or wherever. The key is to offer choices that are familiar, budget-friendly, and accessible. However, even dining out presents its own set of challenges. It can feel impersonal or sometimes provoke confusion. They may get agitated because of the noise or the crowds or having unfamiliar smells. Accessibility issues and seating with someone who is mobility challenged. There are adaptations you can make, though, even when dining out. Choose predictable spots where you know the layout. You know that if you go into your local restaurant that you've been to a bunch of times, you know the layout. You know where the best spot for the walker is going to go, for example. Pre-read the menu selections. Most menus are now available on the internet with a quick search, and you can narrow down choices ahead of time, even when you're going through the drive-thru. The other thing is to go at off-peak hours and to be aware of your surroundings. I know with Grandma, when I used to take her to her favorite burger joint / ice cream parlor, we would have to be out of there by a certain time because otherwise we were dealing with the high school lunch hour, or we were, at the same time as like school letting out, and then suddenly I'm navigating a 90-plus-year-old woman on her wheeled walker through a sea of hungry teenagers. Final suggestion is take a familiar item with you to the restaurant. We talked about this in the episode of driving, of taking something with them that is familiar. With Grandma, she took her purse everywhere she went. Even though she really didn't need it, it was basically like her security blanket. Food in caregiving is never just about nutrition. It's about dignity and flexibility. The goal isn't perfection. It's presence. And when resistance shows up, your job isn't to win. It's to find the sacred, even when you're cleaning mashed potatoes out of your hair. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and drop a comment about what you'd like to see covered in this channel. And also any tips and tricks you have for the other caregivers in this community. Thank you for being a caregiver. It really is sacred work.